Hey everybody, welcome again to another issue of Just for Fun Reviews. I'm your host, Azzy, and with me as always is my boy Roy, which I'm not going to point anymore. I'm not going to point at
I got you.
side, I
got you right on the first go.
Whatever.
But, oh well.
Whatever. Nonetheless. Today we are going to be reviewing Thor Love and Thunder, and I'm so excited for this review. Let me just say this. Let me get a tight zoom. First, you should know that it's going to be spoiler free at the beginning. Later on, we're going to let you know. We're going to warn you with plenty of time. But I just want to say, at the top, I thought Thor: The Dark World was better. Sorry, I almost fell asleep thinking about this movie.
Crushed. I'm crushed.
Yeah. It ain't gonna be that normal Azzy that's always really positive about whatever the Marvel movie is, regardless of the fact. I mean, yeah, this is like this is bad, people. This is real bad.
He has no words for the. I mean, is that all you got to say?
I got so many words.
Yeah, about to say.
No,
I'm
words.
gonna put my 2 cents in it.
Go for it.
It's now, like, I had a couple days to marinate with it. You know, I'm not saying it was bad. It was underwhelming because of what came before it with Thor Ragnarok and how awesome that movie was compared to this one. Like, there was no, like, oh my God, that's cool moment, like cinematography, stuff that I was like, oh, that's kind of cool to look at. There was none of that. And some of the things they were saying before this movie with Christian Bale, this is like the darkest villain of the MCU. I didn't see that in this at all.
There was a lot of positive buzz for Christian Bale's Gorr the God Butcher. I didn't get it either.
Yeah.
What I get, like, you're talking, you're making a cooking analogy with the notion that you had your thoughts marinate. Me, I'm gonna say, like,
I'm gonna just say
this turd that a dog ate and then died, and now the body's festering. Because my opinion only got worse the longer it went.
Now hold on now. But here's my expectations for before I even saw the movie. I didn't have expectations. I didn't think this was gonna be like the biggest push in the MCU. This was gonna be the one movie that would like break out and start the next phases and everything, and like shit starts to like, because Kevin Feige revealed like, oh, shit's gonna happen in the next couple of weeks. The big bad or whatever is gonna reveal himself, or whatever the hell
it's gonna become more obvious within the next couple of months. Yeah. I think that was mostly his attempt at addressing a current complaint with Phase 4 that it feels directionless, which I, at the previous like bit of Marvelness, pushed back on, because Phase 1 didn't necessarily have a unified direction, and not to mention back during that period of time, like I would say Phase 2-ish, the major complaint you got on people is like, why does every movie gotta be connected to another one? Why can't they just like stand alone? It's like, now we got standalone movies and projects like Moon Knight and such, and like, where is it going? I don't get it. Make up your damn mind.
You can't you can't please everybody. So I can tell you, there's a movie. This movie is for some people. I can clearly see that, because the whole time I'm watching,
every movie is for some people.
Yeah, but like,
there's somebody out there that likes Dragon Ball Evolution. Was it Evolution?
No, shut up. That's trash.
Dragon Ball Evolution.
That's trash. If you like that movie, don't even talk to me.
There are people out there that love The Last Airbender.
All right, you're
massive Shyamalan fans.
Enough. But I mean, but as me watching it, I'm like, yo, I couldn't even take this movie seriously. That's how bad it is for me. Like, as a superhero movie, there's like some big menacing threat, but even they made him somewhat a joke.
Hold on. I got the best analogy for this. The moment I say it, you're totally going to agree. Everyone loved Thor Ragnarok. Everyone felt like it was a great course correction, mostly because comparatively the first Thor had a kind of like mixed reaction, and there were a lot of people who didn't particularly like Thor: The Dark World, mostly because the villain was really bad and flat. So taking it into this new direction, having a heavy turn into comedy, everyone really embraced Thor Ragnarok. Looking at Thor: Love and Thunder, I get the feeling that Thor Ragnarok had to have been Taika Waititi light. It was him. It was his style, it was his writing, but still with the training wheels of having a bit of like upper management kind of steering him away from maybe his worster tendencies. And that's not to say that he's not a good director and a good writer, because I love his other projects. Jojo Rabbit, great movie. This feels like turning him loose, thinking like he's the golden goose. And when the longer I thought about it, the more I thought of
I think I know what you're
particular analogy.
I think I know what movie you're talking about. Go ahead.
I thought of one analogy from the classic and irreverent and shall never be repeated Tropic Thunder.
Oh no, okay.
We're not Thor Love and Thunder.
We're not on the same
Thor Love and Thunder, and with Thor Love and Thunder, and forgive me for the terminology, because I understand that at this point in time it has effectively become a slur, but they went full retard. Like everything was irreverent.
Come on, get it out.
I'm gonna just use a different word then. Everything was made up and the points don't matter, effectively. It was Flanderization, really what it was. It's the concept that when a character has existed for long enough, what was originally a minor part or a mild part of their personality gets blown out of proportion and kind of swallows them whole. Thor was always kind of on the dumber side, and in Thor Ragnarok, he did make some goofy like himbo type decisions and whatnot. In this movie, he is just stupid. He is completely ignorant of his surroundings. He's destructive. He marches around as if there are no consequences to his actions, which flies in the face of his character development over the past like 2-3 movies, as his actions have had nothing but consequences. It's hard to really fall behind him or enjoy his actions or his motivations when he spends the majority of the time trying to woo a hammer. This was supposed to be a romantic comedy. That was what they were kind of billing this as. And you would assume that romantic comedy would be about Thor and Jane. And while they do try to play some lip service to that, there was also a B plot where it was him and his ex-hammer and trying to get it back. And also with the jealous girlfriend of Stormbreaker, who never had sentience to it. Neither still do, but they still acted like it was. And it, if it was just the single joke, it would have been funny. But I didn't expect it to keep going throughout the entire movie.
There were some of those moments where I thought it was funny. I was like, ugh. Like when you see Stormbreaker coming out of the frame in the corner, I'm like, that's funny.
That was the first time. That's a clip that's already on the internet. So sorry if you thought that might be possibly spoilers, but they had already released that as promotional clip, but where Thor is trying to pull Mjolnir away from Jane, and instead Stormbreaker comes around the corner, and he speaks to Stormbreaker as if it was alive.
But going to what you were comparing it to, I thought you were going to say Wonder Woman 1984. Because, the first Wonder Woman was great. It was good. And
that's also a good comparison.
And about saying, Patty Jenkins is like, okay, we're going to make the next one. And that was a big fucking disaster right there in itself. So
things just happen in this movie in the same way that it did in Wonder Woman. There's just a wishing stone. Very similar. We'll get into that in the spoiler section. But yeah, as far as Christian Bale's performance, I got the feeling that he was doing the best he could with like the little that he got. For a character called Gorr the God Butcher, we never actually get to see him butchering gods. It's all done off screen. And then by the end of the story, it just feels like there was this is a rich collection of material that could have told a really good story for a movie that even took like another half hour to tell it, and they squandered it. If I feel like choices were made in the writing for this film that closed the doors on things that I thought were going to be carried into the future of the MCU. And what we got left was this bit of original content and something that has. And I never want to be the guy who claims that something that's based on a comic has to be stringently towards that comic. I mean, we never really ever get that. Civil War in the MCU is nowhere near as close to what happened to Civil War in the comics. But it's kind of like when we were watching Mortal Kombat and we kind of felt like they had the blueprint for what we liked, what we wanted, and they could have adapted it and then updated it.
Mm-hmm.
The comics had blueprint for how this story goes, and the changes they made just didn't make sense in my mind. Like the whole beginning with the origin for Gorr the God Butcher in the comics, you see him with his family. He has a wife, he has a kid, he has fellow villagers, and they're all trying to survive in this desert because their gods have abandoned them, but they keep the faith. Then slowly but surely, all of them die. His wife dies, and then his kid dies, and he's left all alone. And then in the comics, he stumbles upon two gods fighting.
Yeah, I remember
golden
this.
god and a dark god. Yeah. The dark god is dead, but the golden god is wounded. And he reaches out and he asks Gorr for help. And Gorr looks down on him, realizing this is the thing I've been praying to. Where were you when you could have helped all of us? You abandon us, and now you only show up when you want something. So then he takes the sword and he kills the god. How they do it in the comics, or how they do it in the movie, is meant to just immediately make you hate the god figure, which is fine. But I think it would have done I feel like Gorr lacked self-motivation. I felt like his initial revenge was surface level, and then he just came up with the justification that he was going to go on this mission to kill all the other gods. It just like he didn't.
This is my vow.
He didn't build himself up. Like yeah. It was like I wanted a monologue. I wanted like a treatise on why gods suck, and I don't feel like I ever got that. It was just they said that he hates gods, and that was just it. It's like, okay, all right,
yeah. It felt like this movie didn't have anything to really progress anything with Thor or the MCU.
Yeah, no, it definitely felt like a movie that was spinning its wheels. It's one thing when it's a new character, you have an origin story like Shang-Chi, Moon Knight. You don't expect them to be pushing any kind of envelopes or anything like that. It almost felt like his time with the Guardians of the Galaxy was a waste. Nothing really happened. At best, you had the message that Peter Quill gave to Thor, which I don't feel like came up in his mind at all throughout the rest of the movie.
Oh, I sure can use the Guardians of the
Galaxy.
And
I thought the end was cheesy. It's like it was trying to be cheeky, especially with like the choice of music, which I know
Guns N' Roses.
Film theory had predicted was going to have a central element to the plot, but also the importance of the title itself. I thought it was like, yeah, you were trying to be cute, but I'm not buying it. Sorry.
Anyway, spoiler time.
Anyway, from this point, we're going to be talking spoilers. If you haven't seen the movie yet, I totally understand. Go see it or wait till it comes out on Disney Plus.
Wait for it to come out on
Disney. But if you are stopping here to go see the movie, please come back and see what the rest of our thoughts are. If I had to grade this movie, I would grade it as the worst MCU movie to date. Out of 10.
Even the Hulk? The Hulk?
The only bad thing about the Hulk, to be completely honest, to me, was that they tried to change how he functioned to make it so that like he would transform if he got an erection. It's like, no, it only happens when he's angry. That and like Edward Norton being a diva and kind of like kibotching his ability to continue into the MCU. Those are the only two real drawbacks to the Hulk for me. I enjoyed it. Again, I tend to be the overly positive guy when it comes to these movies. But
worst movie ever?
Worst MCU movie out of them all out of 10.
I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna give it at least a 6. I think that's fair.
You're being very generous.
No. I'm being totally honest.
I hope you put a bow on it.
I'm being dead honest. I didn't say I hated the movie. I hated like some of the comedy beats that they constantly kept repeating. Whatever, you know what. But
yeah.
But yeah. I thought it was a funny movie. Dragged on a little bit too long to get where it was trying to go. But overall, I find it slightly enjoyable. Not the greatest MC movie, not the worst MC movie. Anyway, spoilers.
Best watched with extreme amounts of short-term memory loss.
Did you at least have somebody to watch it with?
Oh no, I went to see it by myself.
That's your reason.
It was a full theater. I'm not immune to the crowd pleasing laugh moments. I laughed in the movie. I'm not saying that I did.
I could just see your ass in the theater right now. Fucking this up. Give me that goddamn.
No. I didn't. Arms were not crossed. I looked at it like I was watching somebody trying to shove his own fist up his rear. Like, how are your arms that long?
Anyway, go ahead, talk about spoilers.
Oh my god, I did it. That was your spoiler warning. Guy shoving fists up his ass. Anyway, yeah. So, do you think they fridged Jane in this movie?
Yo, to be honest with you, I felt like she was even more useless in this movie. She comes in the first time you see her. I mean, Thor pretty much had it. He just got distracted because he saw Mjolnir. But
what I'm saying,
yeah, I know what you're talking about. You're talking about like, was this a waste of a movie for her?
They make a very big show about bringing her back. They make a very big show about her becoming the mighty Thor, which is a very popular new character out of the comics. By new, I mean like new status for Jane Foster. I know currently she is also a superhero under the name Valkyrie, but still, the mighty Thor is insanely popular. I am a massive fan of the mighty Thor, which is why I'm trying to gauge my bias in the notion. But a lot of people went into this movie assuming that this is going to be Chris Hemsworth's opportunity to back off of the MCU. He doesn't have to leave it forever. He isn't an old man or dead. But people thought that this was the movie that was going to hand off the franchise to Jane, to Natalie Portman.
Gotta cough up that money for Natalie Portman, y'all.
But here's the kicker. Here's the thing you gotta know about Jane Foster Thor. She's always supposed to die. It's always supposed to be this massive tragedy. It's exactly what we expect. But I was expecting it to be more climactic. I was expecting it to be earned. And I don't think it was earned in this movie. Like, we catch up with her where she was at the precipice of cancer, where she was basically just going to fall over dead. Not to mention, and this is actually something I actually liked about the movie until I started thinking about it more. The way they contrive the notion as to why Jane can lift Mjolnir is that Thor, unbeknownst to himself, casts a spell on Mjolnir in the same way that Odin did, applying the rule of only those worthy may, whoever holds his hammer, if he be worthy, may shall possess the power of Thor. He did the same thing. So that was cool. And then I started thinking about it. I was like, but that means the only reason why she's worthy is because her boyfriend let her be worthy. It undermines Jane as a character, or Jane's tendency towards heroics, regardless of her frail humanness. The thing about, and not to mention, they did so little to establish the notion that the hammer, because in the comics, anytime Jane would take up the hammer would magically purge her of any toxins or poisons, which includes the chemotherapy that's trying to fight her cancer. So each time she picked up the hammer, she took like a step back in her recovery, in her possible recovery from breast cancer. They didn't even do the legwork to establish that that was what was going on. They just like, Thor takes her to the they Rainbow Bridge out of the situation before Gorr takes Stormbreaker, and then they land where I guess it was a bad landing, and Jane loses the hammer for a hot second. Not that she hasn't been able to let go of the hammer for a second and still remain as Thor, but now it was like she lost her transformation, gets taken to the hospital, and the doctor's like, I don't know, something's killing her. Okay.
I don't know, man.
They fast forward her story. I was expecting, this is me going in with expectations. This is something that I riled against with people when they went with expectations for Multiverse of Madness. But I guess I just didn't think they'd treat Jane Foster and Natalie Portman like a beloved extra character from Stranger Things.
Anyway, yeah, I would agree on one thing. The movie was moving really fast. There was no take a seat, relax, gotta keep moving. It's like, okay, we got the thing with Gorr, then you see the scene with fucking Thor and the Guardians of the Galaxy. We move on from that. He's going solo. He's got to go back to New Asgard because apparently the Gorr's there with the shadow monster, whatever the hell, which, by the way, wasn't that supposed to be symbiote?
Did we need yeah, and you get the impression that they totally intend to go that route, especially since Venom is now in the MCU, and you have the cryptic warnings from the Celestials and the Eternals about how they have to continue procreating, otherwise the universe will fall to darkness. I don't know, but they're gonna how they're gonna. And that's the other thing. They wanted to do this story regardless of them not having all the elements to tell it really well. Like there's no Odin, and Odin there was no Odin. They didn't do the original Sin storyline where Thor loses his ability to wield Mjolnir because he doesn't believe himself to be worthy. He doesn't believe that any god is worthy. For Jane, it just felt like where everyone thought that this movie was going to be a passing of the torch, it felt like a very long-winded, roundabout way to just get Mjolnir back into Thor's hands.
Lame.
To which, yeah, and the notion of how they reform Mjolnir, the notion that it remains connected due to electricity, like almost like magnetism, and it can be used to like scatter out as multiple projectiles, that's really fucking cool.
Lame.
I mean, oh, and again, let's remember that we get to see Zeus. We go to Omnipotent City, a place full of gods. No God Butcher. They say, yeah, he can't find us here. We're just gonna hide. Zeus gets killed by Thor. We have a guy. The bad guy is Gorr the Butcher. And then we spend a significant amount of the movie assuming that Thor just nonchalantly kills the head of another pantheon. He kills the equivalent of Odin.
Hey, it's because he wasn't invited to the orgy.
Apparently.
You're not invited to the orgy.
Yeah. It's just... Also, I feel like for a movie that was this fast, maybe we could have gotten some more story focusing on the central figures of the movie: Gorr, Jane, Thor. If we had cut out like
Oh, by the way,
2/3 of Korg's content, I
hey
didn't need
man,
to see like I didn't need a whole like love story with Korg or his species procreate, or his like stint as Mimir, that like the death scare.
hmm, uh, by the way, when did Heimdall have a son? Was that even mentioned?
Heimdall in the comics does not have a son.
No, I'm not talking about
That
the
was just
comics. I'm just talking about in the MCU in general.
nope. He never does. That was just yet another character. Like I find it hilarious. Granted, it wasn't Taika Waititi in particular who killed Heimdall. He was killed by the Russo brothers in Infinity War. I get that, but Waititi had no reverence for any of the characters that had up until Ragnarok been established in the MCU. Killed off the Warriors 3 and almost killed off Sif. Great to see her.
Yeah,
She lost an arm.
It's in Valhalla though.
I think it would have been funny if the arm was in Valhalla.
Yeah, that should have been the post-credit scene.
That was a funny joke. That was a funny joke. But yeah, no. Not to mention the notion of sharing Heimdall's sight was something that they introduced in Thor Ragnarok, and apparently no one actually remembered it, because I saw a lot of people confused as to how Thor could just astral project to all the kids. To which that was not how I understood how that power worked. In Thor Ragnarok, Thor asks Heimdall to share his sight with him. I assumed he was seeing through Heimdall's eyes, not astrally projecting into Asgard to see what all the devastation was going on. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. It's like yet again, like with Wonder Woman 1989,
84.
84. There we go. Just like with Wonder Woman, shit just happens. Also, apparently, they introduce one of the biggest cosmic gods in the MCU, Eternity, and turn him into the fucking Dragon Balls. He's a wishing well. I guess Thanos didn't check the center of the universe or something. Thank goodness the Rainbow Bridge. What the fuck is it called? The Bifrost. Thank goodness the Bifrost is the fucking key. It's just like these contrivances that just came out of fucking nowhere just for the sake of pushing the plot along.
Well, here's the funny thing about that. Where Gorr's going to go to Eternity, and you see like the little statues and shit. The whole fucking time, I'm like, yo, he's gonna open up a fucking doorway to fucking Galactus, because the statues look like fucking Galactus with the fucking helmet. No, don't even get that.
Eternity. Not to mention, and not to mention a guy who wants to kill all gods apparently doesn't have the patience to do it and take the pleasure out of it. Like, what was Gorr the God Butcher? He didn't butcher gods on screen ever. He didn't particularly seem to be all that stronger with that sword. He barely could hold his own against Thor without like dipping into the shadows and popping up behind him, which is the only trick that he seemed to have. What I thought was interesting is apparently Taika and Chris Hemsworth's kids drew the art that was used for the monsters. Like they drew pictures and the artists used their drawings for the monsters. That's what I heard. Cute. But yeah, they just need a quick way to get this over and done with, because this is a story that probably couldn't be a single freaking movie.
This should have been a Netflix
felt like
series.
A lot of times,
or Disney Plus series, my bad.
Actually, yeah. A lot of people complain. I've seen a lot of complaints with now that we've kind of hit saturation with the Disney Plus series. That this could have just been a movie, and they're just stretching it out for 6 hours. I would have wanted this to be stretched out for 6 hours.
More of the
Yeah, the fucking goats. That was see that the goats are actually a great and a great example of how of how the plot effectively went. Taika had an idea for a joke, and then he needed to justify that joke in the plot of the movie. So now we have these goats, and the goats are funny. So let's keep the goats around. Well, how are we going to do that? Well, how about if Stormbreaker no longer works as intended because it's jealous of Thor Mjolnir back? It's like, oh, well, then let's just have Jane say because Jane studied the Einstein-Rosen bridge, so she would know that, oh, we need a focus for Stormbreaker because I guess she knows magical shit. It's like, oh, we'll attach it to a boat and we'll have the goats pulling it. It's like all this like roundabout thinking just to justify keeping this joke going. It wasn't necessary. Was it just wasted time? Instead of focusing on trying to justify these jokes, maybe get more of the plot in there. Also, Jane couldn't have been the mighty Thor for like 3 hours. We don't have like a method for telling how long she was actually functioning, but they acted like she had been doing this shit for months, long enough for them to feel like it was necessary to build a fucking statue to her.
No, I thought the statue was like later in the movie.
The statue was later in the movie. They credited her for saving the universe.
I don't think that statue was there when they first came back.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't. But Valkyrie acted like she had been there long enough that
you're gonna love her
attempts, her cheesy attempts at like taglines and catchphrases was getting annoying.
Eat my hammer.
Yeah.
That's fucking dumb ass shit.
Yeah. It's like the girl's been like a superhero for like what, 2 hours? Why are y'all acting like she's been around for a year?
Who knows? Could have been. I don't know how long Thor was hanging out with Guardians.
Not that the movie does a good job of like showing us that. It's a lot more tell than show in this movie.
Well, you better hope for Thor Love and Thunder, the Wakiti cut.
And the conclusion. The notion that for one, the wishing well only works for the first person that gets there, and Gorr got to it first. So Thor then had to effectively convince him that love was worth more than revenge. Because Thor's going to choose love and be with Jane. If he really convinced Gorr to choose love to the point where he spends his one wish at the wishing well to resurrect his daughter instead of killing all the gods like a giant red button, why didn't he use his wish to bring back his daughter and save Jane? She was right there.
You can only get one.
The thing that convinced him to choose love is like, you're right. I'm going to let your love die. I'm going to bring back just mine. Oh, also, like, are you telling me that you can literally only ask for one thing? Because he was going to wish for the death of all gods across the universe. But when it comes to bringing someone back from the dead or saving somebody, you can only pick one person. I mean, it's just a wish. It's not like you can say "and" in a sentence.
Well, if you want to talk about wishing, check out Idris Elba's new movie. I forget what it's called, but he plays a genie.
Oh yeah. Some 3,000 wishes.
Yeah.
I actually wanted to see it.
I was actually kind of disappointed with the previews I saw at the theater. So there was nothing. I'm like, ooh, they showed Avatar 2 in there. I'm like, eh.
You know what? That's actually like recently unrelated. Because trailers are so prevalent on the internet and trailers get released on the internet, I would love it if some trailers got held off to just be released for theaters.
Well, see,
you want to see this new trailer? You gotta go and see the movie.
See, that would have been a nice little setup for this movie if nobody knew the Mighty Thor was going to be in this movie. That'd be like, oh, okay, that would have been a nice little holy shit moment. But you had revealed that during like Comic-Con and shit like that Natalie Portman was going to be the Mighty Thor.
Oh yeah. No, they had to do that. It brought in all the fanboys.
I mean, but still, you if you did do that at the Comic-Con, not even say she's gonna be the mighty Thor, just have her up there, be like, yeah, I'm coming back to play Jane Foster, something like that.
Valkyrie felt wasted. She seemed to, despite the fact that in Ragnarok she spent the majority of her time drinking, she seemed to have more character and integrity in that movie than she seemed to do in this one. This one, she seems to just be bored and would love an excuse to just be fighting something instead of acting as king. And I get that sentiment, but she was already effectively acting as king during the blip when she was in charge of the town. The town has just become commercialized and tourist trap at this point. So it's like, you're already doing this. Why are you suddenly now so damn bored? They even tease the idea that there's more emotional damage underneath when she was facing off against Gorr.
Where were your gods when your sisters were getting murdered? Or whatever the fuck he said. Yeah.
Yeah.
But anyway. Thor Love and Thunder. 6 out of 10.
Oh, yeah. And the way it ends, where Thor's left to take care of the eternal born child, whose name is Love. So at the end, you have Love and Thunder. Because we don't have... Because there aren't already enough accusations that Disney's just repeating the exact same old grumpy dude and child protege storyline in every goddamn thing. You did it again
and again and again. Anyway,
also, I mean, I didn't care for the kid. I'm sorry.
Oh, I didn't care either. I was like, yo, okay, that's nice.
Oh, she can shoot lasers out of her eyes.
Yeah, no, okay. I was like, okay,
she's wielding Stormbreaker now.
Which I thought was like when she did the little laser trick, I was like, oh, she gonna be evil, and now they gonna have to take her down. Nope, we're gonna go fight these people and protect the good guys.
After that movie, I'd be perfectly happy to never see another Thor movie. Like if that was just how they ended Thor for the MCU, and then like give it 8 years and we have the Beta Ray Bill movie, totally fine. I don't see where they can go from this that'll be actually good. I don't see any lingering threads or like the after credit scene where they showed the mid credit scene where they showed that Natalie Portman or Jane ended up in Valhalla with Idris Elba's Heimdall, which was a nice touch to see Idris Elba back in there because I was just as sad as everybody else to see him be eliminated almost immediately in Infinity War. But I don't know what the hell. Like, I guess that was just to show that she's in Valhalla or something. I don't know what they're going to do with that. If all the soldiers from Valhalla were going to be called, that was supposed to happen during Ragnarok. I don't know. Maybe that's how they bring Jane back.
Yeah, I think she's
don't
done.
know. Can't care.
I think they're done. They're done with Natalie Portman. I don't think she'll be back. If she'll be back in a flashback or something. That's about it.
Or they'll bring her back, or if they do Secret Wars, they'll bring her back as the Mighty Thor, but from a different universe or something. I don't know. Anyway, what'd you think about the movie? If you're still with us and you're nowhere near as tired as I look, by all means, let us know down below why you liked it, and I'm stupid for not. Thank you so much for watching. We will see you guys next time. Peace.
Deuces.